Former Boston Mayor Tom Menino's new memoir is out, co-written with Jack Beatty. Mayor for a New America focuses on Menino's accomplishments and frustrations during a period of tremendous growth. I sat down with him last year just as he was wrapping up the book. The mayor was reflective about his unlikely career, crediting his mother for his appreciation of the struggles of immigrants.
My mother was a person who, we lived on Hyde Park Avenue, an Italian neighborhood. And everyone who came from Italy lived in a six-family house next door to us. And she would translate for them, tell them how to get a job, shop for them, and send them to school. She was like the Mother Teresa of Hyde Park Avenue. But unfortunately, she died when she was about 43, 44 years old. But my father and my mother were very special to me in my life. I had an aunt, after my mother died, my aunt brought me up.
Do you have a funny story about a teacher changing the spelling of your name?
Yeah. When I was in the first grade, I went to a school, parochial school, and my name spelled M-E-N-I-N-O. But they insisted we were spelling it wrong. I went through the first grade, my name being spelled wrong. My parents were down there, and they said, you know, you don't know how to spell your name. You're Italian. You don't spell it right. And it took us till the second grade to get our name changed to M-E-N-I-N-O.
How did they spell it?
M-E-N-N-I-N-O. I always remember that. I always remember that. The little things you'll remember in life. In first grade, going to school, my aunt took me to school every day. And I had bologna sandwiches every day, except Friday, because Friday couldn't eat meat on Friday.
Do you think that's part of the reason why you have connected so well with the immigrant community here? You identify with them.
Well, because I believe in them. I believe I believe I grew up with a lot of those folks who came over here from Italy, especially from Argentina. I grew up with those people. I played baseball with a lot of those kids. I developed that relationships, and that's, was important to me personally. And I always wanted to make sure that everyone was treated equally. I always got angry when people mistreated somebody because of the language or the color of their skin. That used to get me really frustrated, sometimes really angry at people. But that's who I am. That's Tom Menino. Nothing special, just doing my job.
So when you were driving around the city with Jack Beatty, who's helping you with your autobiography, you were talking about the kids, and he said that you kept saying, they just need a break. They just need a break. What kind of a break do the kids need?
Well, a lot of these kids you see, Emily, are kids who come from single-parent families. Parents are busy trying to keep their lives together. And they don't have the support that my grandkids have or other kids have. They come home from school in the afternoon and they sit in front of a TV, and the mother and father might show up at 8 o'clock at night. Maybe have supper, maybe not have supper. You just got to give these kids opportunities.
You also told Jack that the worst part of your job is dead cops and dead kids. How much of that did you have to experience?
Well, toughest part is dead kids, kids getting murdered, takes the wind right out of your sails. Because you usually go visit the parents, and what do you say? What do you say to the parents? I'm sorry, what can I do for you? But it just put yourself in their shoes and wonder how you'd react to the situation. I've been to several of those over the years. And sometimes it gets you. It gets you real hard. The first one I had was Lewis Brown. I remember that one. I was married about 3 weeks and it happened. I knocked on the door of the house and I says, Mayor Menino, I'm sorry. Spent 9 hours with them trying to console them, trying to say something to the family, that mother and father. And Lewis Brown was a real, Odom kid, Stevie Odom, coming back from a basketball game, another kid. senselessly shot. But the problem I have is, don't young people have a value of life? Life means nothing to them. They think it's something, it's all done today, tomorrow we'll come back. It's the end. We've got to get a message out there. Got to get the guns off those streets.
People say about you that you're a really good listener.
You have to be a good listener. Because anybody who sits in my seat who thinks they know it all is a failure. You got to reach out to people. I like listening more than I talk. Because you listen, and every time you go to a conversation, you'll pick one nugget, you bring it back. You go to these conferences, you always pick up one thing, come back at City Hall and use it. But that's it. You have to be a good listener. You can't be a good talker.
Did it ever bother you that people said you weren't a good talker, the whole mumbles, Menino thing? Does
that bother you? Not anymore. It doesn't bother me. I mean, I lasted 20 years.
So what's the hardest thing to give up?
Hardest thing about this?
Hardest thing to give up?
Well, what I'm going to give up is the people. Not being with people all the time. That's what I enjoy the most. People say, well, you might be a little corny about that, but I really do. It's the people part of the business that's the best. You deal with all the bureaucracy and all that nonsense. But when you see the people out there that can help, make a difference in their lives, that's what the job's all about. That's what government should be about. And I hope in my 20 years, that's what I was about, is trying to help people.
All right, I'm joined now by Jack Beatty, who co-authored the book with former Boston Mayor Tom Menino, Mayor for a New America. Jack, you got to spend a lot of time with Tom Menino. What was it like driving around the city with him?
Well, it was, in a part, a drive down memory lane. He couldn't go by a statue or a corner or a group of people without coming out with some sort of memory. And he noticed everything. For example, we came down Beacon Street onto Tremont, and he noticed in front of the Parker House, whatever it's called now, a state trooper. And he said to the policeman driving the car, "Why is that man in my city?" And they made, well, we'll find out. Sure enough, 10 minutes later, the sergeant said, "Mr. Mayor, First Lady Laura Bush is in town," and that's why. He just saw out of the corner in a crowd of people state, "Why is that man in my city?" I mean, it was, whatever was happening, he seemed to be in touch with it.
Were there certain stories he told you that really moved you, listening to him?
Yes, you're talking about his parents, who just clearly had a foundational and sustaining influence on his character and his personality. I mean, he mentioned in the film that his mother was the sort of Mother Teresa of Hyde Park Avenue, and I think that impulse, that social work impulse, he said he would be if he hadn't got into politics, had probably gone into social work. That was part of him. And then I think from his father, well, many influences, but one in particular, the mayor is always an elegant dresser. I mean, that I think brought it out, just how impeccably got up he always is. And apparently his father was a foreman at Westinghouse fan division out on, in Reedville anyway. And, but on Sundays, he would dress up exquisitely, even with cashmere socks. And so he left that, among other things, he left that feeling for elegance, I think, with his son.
Did you talk to him about how he came to his political point of view? It surprised me growing up in an Italian Catholic family, conservative part of town, that he embraced so many liberal causes, from gay marriage to civil rights, I mean, everything.
Well, I think, in a way, the Italian heritage is the answer to that. That's that feeling of being, a minority in this dominantly Irish American city to other minorities, certainly to African Americans, but also to gays and to people on the margins. So I think, in a way, the Italian heritage is part of his empathy with minorities.
He had a lot of Kennedy memorabilia in his office, and I know he told you the story too about skipping school to be able to see Jack Kennedy. I mean, the Kennedys were really his role models.
Yes, he told me a wonderful story about going down to Faneuil Hall to see the last speech that John Kennedy gave in the 1960 campaign. And when candidate Kennedy came out of Faneuil Hall, got into his limousine, and was driving up the cobblestone streets to the North Station. By the way, I was at the North Station.
Really?
He was driving up to the North Station for a last rally. Tom Menino, this 17, 18-year-old kid, found himself running. He was running after the limousine. I mean, it was like politics was pulling him forward, and he shocked himself. He was a shy kid. He wasn't somebody but he was just somehow so imbued with the moment. He ran after Kennedy, and that, I think, was really the beginning of his political career.
All right. Well, Jack Beatty, really enjoyed the book, although I thought it should have been called Mayor for Life. But, just Jack Beatty, thanks so much. Mayor for a New America. Appreciate having you here.
Thank you.